Welcome, live from Sparkwood in 21. This series chronicles one of the greatest television shows of all time, the 1990s cult classic Twin Peaks, created by David Lynch and Mark Frost. Joining me on this journey will be superfans, Last Call with Troy Pacelli, Netter's Network, along with soon-to-be superfan, Aged Boomer. Slide into a booth at the Double R Diner and order a damn fine cup of coffee and a slice of cherry pie as we watch and discuss Episode 2, Zen or the Skill to Catch a Killer, a perfect episode for Halloween. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen out there in YouTube land. I'm glad to see you all here. Already in the chat, we have JPRPH1, Mr. Londell's Groovy Movies, and our guests backstage. Last Call, Troy Pacelli.
How's it going? Welcome.
Netter's Network.
Happy Halloween.
And Aged Boomer.
I'm a fan. I'm not a super fan.
He said soon to be super fan.
So I know that's my point. He said soon to be.
Yeah.
I don't know that I'm a super fan of anything. I'm trying to think. I don't know.
We'll see.
Like a diehard, like
Mm-hmm.
like that's all they can talk about. Doctor Who could have been a contender, and then they effed it up. But anyway,
There you go.
All right. Well, folks, this is a special one, and I'm really glad that we had a chance to do this episode during Halloween because I think it is the perfect episode for a Halloween episode. And
Yeah.
the ending of this episode, which I'm not going to give away for anyone who has not yet seen it, is probably what sold me on this show. And really started to prove to me what you could do on television. This was definitely pushing the envelope. So I'm really looking forward to showing this episode to everyone tonight and getting everyone on the panel's insights on what we're going to see.
Netter and I.
And hello to the Alaska scenario. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, hi. I was just typing it myself. Netter and I were just on a stream prior to this one, and so we very quickly had to get our dinner put together. So we are having our dinner as we go into this stream, and can you guess what we're having for dinner?
I can.
What?
You're having a tuna salad sandwich because that's what Cooper had talked about in the first episode.
No. I will be having the same as the Horn Brothers at the beginning of this. You'll see.
Okay.
And I already finished mine.
She's already finished hers. I was too busy doing stuff.
Okay.
No, I was just really hungry.
I understand. Yeah.
Pasta scenario? No, it's not pasta.
It's not pasta.
But hi.
Most other nights it would be. And keeping in mind, too, Wednesday is Prince Spaghetti for us old.
Today's Tuesday.
That's why I say Wednesday is pasta night. There you go.
You have spaghetti every Wednesday?
No. We really don't.
No, just like I'm sure there's very few people who have tacos every Tuesday. So, although I do have drinks every Friday, that's a rule. That is a rule. Pacific 414, how you doing? Good to see you. Long time no talk to. So last week we started our investigation and we looked at a couple of suspects. Right now, as of where we stand now, I think Leo Johnson is probably the forerunner. He seems like the most obvious suspect.
Because he's nuts.
He's also, not a very likable character. There's obviously, he's, very abusive of his wife. So it's not too big a surprise that his wife is stepping out on him and seeing the deceased's boyfriend, which makes it all the more intricate. Speaking of which, Bobby Briggs, kind of a troublemaker himself, did not know that Laura also was seeing someone besides himself until last episode. One James Hurley, a little bit of a rebel himself, but so far he seems like a pretty likable character. It seems unlikely to be a suspect, but of course everybody is a suspect, right?
It's like, okay.
The deceased's parents, the Palmers, are inconsolable, especially the mother Sarah. In fact, she's been getting some sort of tranquilizing shots to calm down in order to get some sleep. She's remembering. She thinks she's remembering something that might help, but in her state, it could just be hallucinations. Who knows?
Then you got the weird Dr. Jacoby.
Dr. Jacoby, we found out that the victim, Laura Palmer, had been seeing him prior to her death. She was making audio recordings, and he was listening to one of those audio recordings at the end of last episode. We don't hear what she says, but it causes him to break down in tears. There was a locket that Laura had that she had shared half of with James Hurley, the secret boyfriend. Her best friend Donna convinced James to take it and bury it in the woods to hide it because Cooper had found her half of the locket and guessed that whoever had the other half would be a suspect. He went and he buried it, and it was picked up at the end of the pilot. Actually, we didn't see who it was. Well, we find out at the end of last episode it was Dr. Jacoby who had picked it up. We see him holding it as he's listening to that audio recording. Have I missed anything over the past 2 episodes that we need to get people caught up on?
No, I think that wraps it up just nicely.
There we go.
Mr. Horn is having an affair with.
Right. Good point. Now, there are other storylines going on that don't immediately seem to have anything to do with Laura Palmer, but the owner of the Great Northern Hotel and big real estate guy in the town. What's his name? Horn. What's his first name? I'm drawing
Benjamin.
Benjamin Horn. He is having an affair with Josie Pat. No, not Josie.
No.
Excuse me. No, I'm confusing
That's the
myself.
sheriff.
Catherine
Martell. Right. Pete's wife. They operate the local sawmill. Josie is the widow who owns the sawmill, and exactly they have some sort of designs on the property that the sawmill is on. So there's talk of some shady deals going on there, but at this point, that doesn't tie directly to the main mystery, which is Laura Palmer. So what Catherine and Benjamin are up to, we don't know yet, but we'll find out as we go.
Indeed. I also want to remind everyone and to say hello to everyone who might be listening to us on Twitter. We are simulcasting there as well. So if you enjoy the show, you like what you see, please feel free to comment at any time. And if you want to watch the episode along with us, the Cosme link is pinned to the top of the YouTube chat.
The more the merrier.
Yep.
Indeed.
And you know what? I just realized I should probably bring that Cosme link, or I I should be streaming it over here so I can watch instead of craning my head around trying to see it.
Yes, put it on the big screen,
I
dear.
am trying. Give me just a second. It'll just be a moment. Cosme up here. Watch. Right. Yeah. Yeah, you're all over here already. And okay. I'm ready. Really, really this time. Just say when.
Okay.
Oh.
Let's do the countdown.
Yep.
3,
All right.
2, 1. Go.
There we go.
Look at the birdie.
Flappy. That's his
Yes.
name. Flappy.
Did Flappy die?
Flappy had a very difficult history. I'll have to share that with you guys one day. We actually have a behind-the-scenes documentary about Flappy.
Yes, we do.
And I would recommend the panel take a quick look at the private chat. Just a suggestion. I think it's a good idea. And unless I'm mistaken, throughout both seasons, the opening was identical. Of course, they might change the names as appropriate and add people, but for the most part.
Oh.
And if you're not hearing or seeing anything, refresh your screen for Cosme.
So obviously that was an intentional silence. I love it. That's why we all went silent over here. You get the distinct impression of the Horn family. They're sitting at the dinner table and nobody's talking.
You talking about his sandwiches?
Yup. And Netter said it was pretty good.
It was.
And I made 4.
Look, he's like,
2
bring it
for
over to
each
me.
And now actually good.
Plus, they don't pasteurize their cheese over there, right?
Good point. Yeah.
He's eating more bread than anything.
Well, if you think about the sandwich, it really is bread forward. So the bread makes the sandwich in this case.
Bread is like one of the most important parts of a sandwich.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If you go skimp on the bread, you're in trouble.
And I also have to say, This is the only way I like Brie.
Yeah, because we don't like Larson.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
Mm.
always a pleasure.
Mm-hmm.
What were they eating for their dinner? Some kind of roast or something?
Yeah, I don't know. I like that reaction. Leland's daughter died in the
He
Norwegian.
didn't even bat an eye.
He goes, like, you bite all
Vikings
horns.
by the horns.
Okay.
Yeah, you just caught that, right?
Is this the actor that was the guy that Arnold would kill last in a Commando?
Yes.
Okay, yes.
Mhm.
I remember now. Okay.
He was also the guy that rips out the guy's heart in the dream in the movie Dreamscape.
I
with
remember
Dennis
that, yeah. He plays shady characters.
Quaid.
He built a career on that. He's in the Warriors. He's the villain in the Warriors. I mean, there were a lot
Oh
of
yeah,
villains,
yeah, yeah.
but yeah.
He's in John Wick. Yeah, he's been
Yeah.
around a while. Yeah.
I just
Still
realized
kicking.
that the brothers' names are Ben and Jerry.
Ben and Jerry, yeah.
They're
Mhm.
ice cream.
I like this painting. I'll say that.
Ooh, speaking of ice cream, we still have some left over from last night.
Oh yeah, that's right. That those paintings that you see on the walls, those really are there in the filming location. It's
Yeah.
called the Kiana Lodge.
I'm gonna go get ice cream because my throat hurts.
Okay.
And
Ice cream is nice. I had mint chocolate chip ice cream last night from a ice cream parlor.
And in case anyone is trying to figure out the timeline here, we are still in the same night that the previous episode ended in.
Correct.
That's fine. 24 took place over a 24-hour period. At least the first season did.
And Twin Peaks does a pretty good job of 1 day per episode, but there is some overlap.
Well, plus we're in the evening now, so stuff's going to happen at night.
Right.
I can imagine a lot of scary stuff happens at night on this show.
One-Eyed Jacks.
One-Eyed Jacks.
Hello.
Yes.
Yes.
So, like I said, we did find the filming location, so we saw where this pier was. It's right in the middle of LA.
Mhm.
Did you say he's right in the middle of LA?
Hell yeah, right.
Now, here's a story that might interest some of you, others might not be so interested. Sometime after this show, I ran into a guy who told me that there is a place similar to this just over the Washington border in Canada, at least at that time. Whether or
Wow.
not that's true, I don't know.
It probably is.
It could be. Let's put it this way: I missed my chance to find out. But
So now it's been a little while since I watched this. Are all the wait staff at One-Eyed Jacks basically sleeping with
I
customers?
think so, yeah.
yes,
I'm sorry. Is that the new girl? Is that the point of that, or I don't know?
Yeah.
He was fair to his brother. He gave him a fair shot, right?
True.
Yeah.
And you notice she's blonde. She's got kind of that rounded cheek kind of look, very much like Laura. I'd want to get back to the double scotch. I'm just saying.
Meanwhile,
Mm-hmm. Because she's dead and we're not.
Well, the dead aren't always dead, right?
Well, and I think he's kind of right here. I think they were, as you learn more about their relationship and the things that led up to this, I do feel like they were on a path to be together. Him and Laura were not going to work out. Actually, Laura and anybody was not going to work out. And I understand the guilt, right? They have, it does seem a little unseemly. And that's kind of part of the problem. Which is interesting because you look at his uncle, right? And him stepping out on his wife seems kind of unseemly too, but it challenges the morality on it because you kind of, as you find out more about these characters, you kind of sympathize with the situation.
So much wood paneling on this show.
Yeah. Whistle that we saw him carving earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Welcome, welcome, Lady Mist.
hello, Lady
Hi,
Mist.
sweetie.
Knock at the door.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. No points for anyone who guesses who stuck the note under his door.
I thought it was going to be an envelope when he opens up and a bunch of fingernails fall out.
Okay,
The
that
note,
would be
there's more where
gross.
this came from.
Yeah, right?
It's an old writing prompt. Now, switchblades are illegal. Is that correct?
Not under the Second Amendment, but in some states, yes.
Yes. Okay. That's what I thought.
There's a case going right now
Huh.
up to the Supreme Court that's challenging that, though.
Interesting. It's a very 1950s, gang type weapon. But
Yeah. Like it's any more dangerous than any other knife.
it isn't.
You know?
Someone got to be in their bonnet about
You know what else is illegal? Nunchaku. It's like these, you're more likely to hurt yourself than anyone else with those.
And hello to Lester San
Welcome,
Jose.
welcome, Lester. The great thing about Cosme is you could jump right in exactly where we're at. The
Yep.
football.
Is it in there?
The football is there, but it is empty.
Look who's there.
Yeah. And here we get the connection.
Who indeed?
Yeah.
Leo doesn't have a sense of humor, does he?
No, he does not.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll come back.
Issues. That's another line that's going to come up later.
Yeah.
And could you aim a little higher?
Yeah, right. And right now, Bob's thinking, does he know it's me?
I don't think so, because I think he'd be dead.
No, you're exactly right. Unless he knows and he just isn't going to kill him until he gets his money.
Well, there's that.
But you're right, he doesn't.
I don't think he would have may even mentioned it, though, if he thought it was him.
True.
I think he just
unless he's just saying it to scare him,
Yeah, but you don't want to scare him, so he runs off and doesn't come back into town. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, good point. This is pretty intense.
Lion dash in a state of total panic. New Olympic event.
So, just to sum up, there's, obviously Leo is their drug dealer, and
yeah,
they've been doing some dealing themselves.
What was it, cocaine?
Yeah.
He's got some oil on his hands.
Yes. Oh, gosh. And he knows this.
That's like a rowboat.
Yeah.
She's strong, isn't she?
Well, that's what they're implying, but the honest fact is they're only demonstrating that she's got a bad temper because that's hollow aluminum,
Okay.
It's not that difficult to bend. It beats me.
Yeah. Don't know, but we've played this game.
And what's cool here is, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
What's cool with what Cooper is about to do here is that it not only establishes this whole Zen-like way he has of working.
Right.
It also not only goes to serve who the suspects might be, but it also kind of helps you keep straight who some of these characters are if you've started to lose track at this point.
I have to believe that the Zen, the Buddhism, the mysticism part, I have to believe comes from David Lynch, but the sum things up for the audience part, I bet comes from Mark Frost. That's why they worked so well together. Now, I don't know that for a fact. That's just my guess.
So he just said, we got about 20 minutes. I'm thinking, you're that quick?
It's a big old fish.
She's not wrong.
Why didn't she just divorce him?
She's afraid. Wouldn't be the first time you killed somebody.
No, it isn't, is it?
Yeah, you catch on pretty quick that everybody's having an affair.
Yeah.
Like a hot cup of Joe, right?
Yep. Peggy Lipton. Yeah, just don't confuse the two.
Oh, yeah, we forgot to get donuts.
We'll get them for next week.
The way he spit
And
it out.
hot.
It's not.
Okay, now here we get the explanation. Of Tibet.
What?
And they all
Stay
lean
with-
in like,
stay
okay.
with them.
This probably means David Lynch isn't welcome in a certain country.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Thing is, he's not the type that cares what anyone thinks.
Well, plus back then you wouldn't have to worry about stating your opinions about this sort of thing.
True.
I heard it hurt Richard Gere's career, though. He was also vocal about it.
Yeah.
So at one of the one of the actually every fest that we went to, they reenacted this, and it was a little bit of a competition. It's like just a regular rock throw, but we did it at exactly the same grove that this was staged at.
This is a precursor to CSI.
Kinda.
This is basically the whole premise of CSI. It's just... Or this is more medieval, maybe.
What's interesting is looking back, it actually does have a correlation. And yeah, is that nothing to do with it?
Getting colder.
Right. Oh! I mean, it was just his head.
I'm okay.
There's no sense.
Oh,
There's no. He's like, okay.
They better hope a bear isn't sniffing those donuts.
Right. Well, he realizes he needs to be accurate.
Okay.
I hope he's got more bottles.
Why?
Nope, that's where he stops. Yeah. And we cut to commercial.
We've eaten there.
Yes, we have. A number of times.
It's actually called Tweeds.
Right.
But if you notice, the T was kind of obscured by the tree leaves.
Yep.
And we sat in that booth that you can see behind her.
Yep. Yes, we did. Although, admittedly, when we were there, it was after the fire. Yeah, I definitely went through a coffee period after watching the show. The lovely Sherry, welcome, welcome. So good to see you. Haven't seen you in a while. Get the impression these two don't talk very much.
Oops.
See, this is the difference between the writing for this show and the long silences you get in things like Ahsoka and Obi-Wan and stuff like that. Here, the silences are intentional.
Mm.
And you know Donna's picking up on that right away. So the term "daddy issues" really comes up with Audrey. Dance of the Dream Man.
Nope.
Mm.
I sometimes confuse it with Freshly Squeezed.
No, this is Audrey's Dance.
Oh, this is Audrey's Dance. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
All very, very similar.
Well, yeah.
Right. They revisit. Never mind. No spoilers.
Yeah.
Kind of already blew it, though. This is one of the few shows where they actually handle evidence appropriately.
Cyclone Albert.
Albert honestly is one of my favorite characters.
And she's like, would you shut up so I could page him?
She make a face at him.
Yeah, she's stuck her tongue out.
Well, he was rather condescending. Did she just tweak his nose?
Yes. That makes you wonder if any of this was improv. Welcome to Amateur Hour. Oh, I love this. I love it.
Mhm.
And he gives him a thumbs up. He's like, yeah, well, that good.
Big Ed's gas farm.
Yes.
I'm just picturing little plants with little gas tanks on top.
Uh-oh.
Damn it.
I will
She
tell you
spotted
something.
me.
The people that live in that house, they're not too fired up about the fact that their house is famous. No, I don't. I mean, if it makes her happy, right? I mean, is there really that much of a call for silent drapery?
No,
runners?
there isn't.
You know
Personally,
what?
I think, huh?
I choose not to upset the crazy lady. So
Well,
let's
there
just
is that,
buy
yeah.
the runners and the.
I don't know. I might buy some soundless runners. I mean, come
I
on.
don't know. I find the sound of drapery, swing them open, you know,
No,
very satisfying.
nah. I might be on her side on this. I think
Okay.
the noise, less noise is always good, right? Are you still talking about this?
Well, it's the same day, so.
They were
Yeah.
fish in the percolator.
And then he spent all the time cleaning it out. We even saw him doing it. So yeah, it was a thing that happened that day. So they're conspiring to, check out the ledgers and, do some forensic analysis there.
Yikes!
Well, he's right there, yeah.
She is a witch. Why don't they divorce?
She stays with him because of the arrangement. He stays with her because he really does love her.
He's nuts.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Shoes on the table. That's bad luck. Not shoes on the bed.
Yeah, it's just bad for the bedspread.
Hats on the bed if you follow the logic of Drugstore Cowboy.
Which I do. Ever since I saw that movie, I'm not taking the chance.
Not put no hats on no bed.
No hats on the bed.
Not that I think I've ever done it, but why?
You watch Drugstore Cowboy, he goes all the way into it.
I guess I'll see the movie then.
Kelly Lynch is in it too, and Matt Dillon. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And Heather Graham, who shows up in this in season 2.
Yes.
That's right. Yeah,
Yes.
Heather Graham was in that.
Well, she doesn't come until season 2.
Yeah.
Dun, dun. Pennsylvania 65000.
Yep.
It's the very next sentence is Pennsylvania 65000.
Yes. My dad would listen to the big band music sometimes.
That spinning would make me dizzy.
I mean, see, the problem with a song like that, though, is I'd keep trying to answer the phone. Well, I mean, in fairness, grief, right? This is another one that when you look back, this takes on a whole different perspective. But again, the music brings it right back, right? To the grief.
It looks like a comfy bed.
Now,
Yeah.
I don't think those rooms were actually in Kiana Lodge. And Kiana Lodge is very expensive. We never would have stayed there.
Here we go.
So those of you that were with us for the watch party we did about a year ago of the European cut of the pilot that acts as a standalone movie, some of this is elements from that reused and reworked for the series. Which is interesting because we have another Mike and Bob. I honestly never thought that this dream sequence would make any sense. And it's a long, slow burn. Let's rock. Michael J. Anderson.
Yep. He was on in an X-Files episode.
I'm not surprised. There's a lot of crossover with X-Files between this show and that. Now, it should be obvious to anybody that this is filmed in reverse, which is what makes it seem very unnatural.
Oh, look at the
So
birdie.
all of their lines are said phonetically backwards.
Well, I thought the little guy could actually speak
He
backwards.
can. Michael Anderson has an incredible talent speaking backwards. So he coached the others in saying their lines.
Beach nut? Or blackjack?
Actually, this whole segment, too, didn't make any sense for a very long time.
Yeah. Tell me about
After
it.
the whole town is.
Yeah.
Pretty song.
And there's all disease in the air. This is Dance of the Dream Man.
Mm-hmm.
Leg is much shorter than his right. So he's got a wide lift in his left shoe, which of course affects the way he walks, which also kind of helps with the kind of unnaturalness of this. So now again, keep in mind, he's literally dancing backwards. She is walking backwards. The whole scene was filmed in reverse. This red room, they would set that up wherever we were having our get-togethers on the Saturday of the event. People would go in and get their pictures taken and whatnot.
Look how his hair's sticking
Yeah.
up on the one side.
Mm-hmm.
Well, knowing it and proving are two different things.
And Mr. Lundell says that whole sequence is as weird as I remember it. Yes, it really is weird. But I like the fact that they don't completely. They give you an opportunity to kind of put meaning to everything that happens here.
Mm-hmm.
Later on, when we go through Fire Walk with Me, there's this great sequence that's really, really bizarre, and in situ, the two of the investigators are talking through the event, and one literally explains the symbolism of every single bit, and it's very clearly a meta reference to what fans are doing with Twin Peaks. Whether you should or shouldn't, I don't think is really their intent to comment on, but there it is. Mr. Lundell says Ed is in hell. Before I comment on that, Mr. Lundell, I'm kind of forgetting from last week. Have you already seen Twin Peaks all the way through before? And I suppose that would include the return. Just wondering what your insight is, where your perspective is on this. But yeah, so we now have a much firmer connection between Bobby and Mike and Leo Johnson, right?
Mm-hmm.
We also have a dream sequence with another Bob and another Mike, which is interesting. We know that that drugs were involved. Only season 1 and 2. Okay, that's fair and that's interesting. So here's what I'm going to say about Ed being in hell. Let's say it's maybe a little bit more like purgatory, because what constitutes heaven and hell is a little bit more extreme, and I think we do see people that have much greater claims to those kinds of things. And I really can't go any further into it than that without giving some development stuff away from season 3. But yeah. So we also know from the diary that was found, she had the safe deposit key. Inside the bag that the key was in, there was a residue of cocaine. So we know that that she was doing drugs. He asked both Bobby and James if they did drugs with Laura. Bobby said he didn't do drugs because, of course, he's on the football team and he can't do drugs. Well, I mean, I guess at this point it still remains to be seen whether or not that's proven to be truth or a lie. But he was definitely involved in drug and money changing hands. Drug dealing. Let's face it. He's involved in drug dealing with Leo Johnson. Right?
You know, it's interesting to note this is an '80s series, correct? When did this air?
1990.
Yeah.
Oh, never mind. Well, I just remember coming off of the '80s. It was a very anti-drug age due to the whole "just say no" thing under Reagan and all that. And like drug dealers were considered, you know, the worst of the worst. I don't know if they still are in modern culture, but they back then, you know, drugs were really not something you want to get, especially like cocaine. Now, granted, it's I guess it's more of a rich person's drug than some other things that were available at the time. But I don't know. That popped in my head.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And the addictiveness of cocaine is really important in the story going forward. But and we'll definitely get more into it when we start looking at Fire Walk with Me. I mean, there was a temptation. I almost wanted to start with Fire Walk with Me, but for anyone who might be watching along who has never seen it before, I kind of want to share it the way it was first presented to us. Mm-hmm. Watching through season 1 and 2, then watch Fire Walk with Me. And then we're going to have a conversation about whether or not we get into some of the extraneous stuff, the books, the audio tapes, and so forth, before we get into The Return. And I'm thinking we probably shouldn't wait 30 years to watch The Return. I think, you know,
No.
we'll take a brief break, but then we should just get right into it. But
30 years to watch The Return.
Right?
Yeah, especially since I read an article that the world's going to end in the next 20.
Well, you know, they keep pushing that out and pushing it out all the time, right? I mean,
yeah. If
there was
you're
the
going to
Y2K bug, and then there was the 2012 Aztec calendar, and then there was, you know,
now, the thing that I remember was this documentary in the 80s called The Man Who Saw Tomorrow. That was all about Nostradamus. That was narrated by Orson Welles.
Interesting.
And you know, when will the world come to an end? 1985, May 1985, and I'm like, that did. We're still here.
Maybe it did, and we've all just been sleepwalking in this weird.
I don't know. I think the world ended in 2019 because everything that's happened since then has been so effing bizarre.
This has been. No one's gonna want to remember this decade if we survive.
JPRPH1 says, in the lead up to The Return, I watched Fire Walk with Me in season 1 and 2. I did as well, even though I had watched all of them many, many, many times. And if you've already watched them, then there's just like now, if I was to go back and watch the entire Star Wars saga, I'd start with episode 1 and watch all the way up through Return of the Jedi. You know, that's fine because, you know, there's no spoilers. I'm just going to watch it now in chronological order. Kind of the same thing here that you're describing. You know, Mr. Landell, Nostradamus was proven wrong many times. I think that might put too fine a point on it. I don't think it's poetry is what it really is. And I don't think it was ever intended to be taken as serious prophecy. And the biggest problem with those kinds of prophecies is they're only provable after the fact. If you can't make a prediction and know something is coming and then it happens, then it's not a good prediction. It's just gobbledygook. And then if you squint and tilt your head the right way after the fact, you make it fit. And that is really what you're talking about here, because for all the times people say, oh, he predicted Hitler and he predicted this and he predicted that. You're like, did he? Did he? Because you really gotta stretch what he said. I mean, and the translation of it, because didn't he write in French or something like that?
And keep in mind, the broken clock is still right twice a day.
Yeah, exactly. You know, you have enough lines of text, something's gonna, look something like, But and again, I think people ascribe too much of the idea that it was meant to be prophecy in the first place. I don't think he ever really intended it that way. I think any more than, anyone writing any kind of speculative fiction, some of it comes kind of true. I mean, look at all the people that say, oh, look at the Simpsons, how many things they've predicted. Well, no one is saying that Matt Groening or any of the writers for that show, have any gifts of prophecy, and none of them are claiming they do. But you do enough damn episodes. How many seasons has that been on? Like 50 years now or something like that? I may be exaggerating, but not by much. When you have that many episodes,
No, I'm curious. Alexa, how many seasons has The Simpsons been on the air?
The Simpsons has been on the air since 1989 and has nearly 600 episodes across 27 seasons.
27 seasons, 600 episodes.
And the Tracy Ullman show before that.
So the chances are that something they put into a speculative story ends up becoming true. Not too bad, like an infinite number of monkeys, typing at an infinite number of typewriters. H.G. Wells was more prophetic than Nostradamus. You'll find that people that are actually trying to make a commentary on where they think the future is going tend to be more right. I mean, look at it this way. If you are just throwing stones in any old direction, just having fun screwing around, the chances that you hit a target, down the road, very, very slim. But if you're aiming for that target, you're probably still going to miss a lot, but you're more likely to get one on the target. And that's kind of what you're doing when you're predicting the future, and Nostradamus, I think he was just scatterballing it, whatever, looking for good rhymes. Whereas people writing sci-fi are looking at history, looking at the present, and speculating about the future based on the way they see things going. And they mean it usually to be either inspirational, hey, wouldn't you like to see this kind of future come about? Or it's a warning. Let's try to make sure that, this 1984 thing doesn't happen. Oops, too late. That kind of thing. So, yeah. But anyway, so bringing it back to this. So Cooper has had a number of dreams that have put him on a more or less spiritual path, and kind of influences how he goes about his work. And I like the idea of taking inspiration from what do you call it? Free associate. What he's basically doing with that stone throw, it's a kind of free association. He's letting his unconscious mind express things that, because this is really how the mind works. You you go to sleep on a problem, you wake up with a bit of inspiration, maybe you have a dream that, kicks something off. Some people will just write words, see if anything comes up. Your unconscious mind has a way of continuing to work on the problem when you're doing other things. And one could argue that's...
unfortunately, I don't get paid overtime for that.
Yeah, exactly. That's arguably the technique that Cooper is employing. Now, I think most of the audience that is used to watching a procedural linear type storytelling is probably coming at this more like Sheriff Truman, right? Did you really get this idea from a dream?
Okay, boss.
And as it goes more and more, he kind of... I mean, there's no doubt that he's in there. He's the Watson to Cooper's Sherlock Holmes, but he's going to question the methods. It's like, do you really? And it has a good payoff at the beginning of season 2 that I'm going to comment on big time when we get there. But it also feels a little bit like, I mean, like I said, you have Watson and Holmes. You have Sheriff Truman and Special Agent Cooper. And I would say, I think to some degree, you have Mark Frost and David Lynch. It's the more structured and the more out there. And somewhere together, the meshing of those two kind of really works. It's kind of a, like the salt and caramel, and, whatever, the things that you don't think should work that really do work together. So,
like peanut butter and chocolate.
Yeah, right.
Good together.
Right? Absolutely. Or chocolate and marshmallow fluff.
Oh,
too sweet.
And peanut butter.
You already said.
Maybe a little dollop of raspberry jam on top.
Hey, sweetheart, that seems awfully specific.
Well, I'm thinking this through as we go. I'm doing a little bit of Mark Frost with my David Lynch here. What were you going to say?
Who, me?
Yeah, you.
We got the poem that ends with "Fire Walk with Me."
Oh, yeah. Well, that's the whole poem. Because they haven't gotten to the train car yet, have they?
No.
Okay. We'll hold off on that.
We just watched. Although now I'm eager for the next episode.
So that's interesting, right? Because he has he has heard the entire stanza, even though Fire Walk with Me hasn't even come up yet. But through the darkness of future past, the magician longs to see one chance out between two worlds. Fire Walk with Me. And I don't think it's a huge spoiler. Fire Walk with Me obviously is the title of the movie. And in an episode or two, you'll be seeing where that comes from. Although, having heard this entire stanza recited by the dream image of Mike, you already know the context. So, Stephen, I would argue the fact that we have seen this dream that Dale has had before we get any physical real world revelation of Fire Walk with Me, there's something to that dream, right? That it's not just nothing. Whether or not it's, as I speculated a little bit ago, just his unconscious mind, making connections that no one else has yet consciously, or something supernatural. And we'll have to wrestle with that, going forward more. This whole idea of what is supernatural and what is, really happening.
Well, this is where I got really obsessed with the mystery of it, because I was, well, here's the thing. David Lynch's original intention was that you were never supposed to solve the murder. It was just that the story was going to be
Right.
The offshoot. The murder was the MacGuffin that would
Right.
lead to everything else, and it was never supposed to be solved.
Mm-hmm.
But I always went under the idea that eventually it would. It wasn't going to be right away. I certainly wasn't expecting it to happen when it ultimately does happen. But
yeah, it happens prematurely early because of the network.
Yeah. But, there's the line, and we actually get it in the next episode, is it was 25 years later.
Mm-hmm.
So my thought, because I was convinced, figure out what the dream means, then you will solve the mystery. That's what I was basing it on.
Yeah.
So I always thought, go ahead.
And I at least had one foot in that theory, because you can't, I was not going to be blind to one side of it and not be paying attention to the other side, right? I was open to the possibility of the supernatural and the, all of that kind of stuff. I was also being very critical and logical of the physical evidence that we were getting throughout the thing, because I was not 100% certain how it would all tie together. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people have gotten to the end of, season 3 and feel like it's still not resolved. And I kind of feel like I get it now. I thought I did before. Now I really do think I get it. And I feel like the spirit of what David was trying to do, the spirit of it doesn't end, you don't get all the answers, it continues on forever kind of a thing, is still in play. Almost to the point where there's still a lot of people saying they want a season 4, they want them to come back and do some more. And he's been non-committal, but he's always been that way, right? Well, maybe, we'll see. And I'm almost thinking, nah, it's time to just let it go. I mean, this story has to live on in the minds of the fans, who did just that for 30 years, in between. But I'm getting ahead of us. Let's continue. Let's stay in the time that we're at, and we'll see how we feel when we get to the end of it.
We got introduced to a new character this episode, the brother of Benjamin Horne.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Ben and Jerry, which I always thought was quite humorous. And you get the distinct impression that they like to make excursions to One-Eyed Jack's to check out the new girls when they come in. Mm-hmm. It's a brothel, people. They're going to a brothel.
Disguised as a bar.
It's a bar. It's a casino. It's a brothel. I mean, and Blackie Rose is the madam, and we'll find out more about her and how she fits into all of this as we go forward too. So, yeah, there we go. But anyway, that's all I got. I think that's all I got, unless you guys set me off on another rabbit hole.
The drapes.
It's like, who knew a little bit of grease would make them quiet?
So, well, yeah. I mean, that is one of those kinds of things where you're almost like, if Ed had been at all engaged with what his wife was babbling on about, he could have come up with this idea. She's trying to come up with silent drapery runners. Why do drapery runners make noise? Friction. How do you eliminate friction? Grease.
Mhm.
You know, so yes, he ended up, because of what he does for a living, accidentally pointing her in that direction. But how much better would it have been if, you know, he'd have just said, well, Nadine, I got grease out in the shop. Why don't you just put that onto your cotton balls? You know, but yeah, they are maintaining that he is detached from her. She is kind of a wackadoo, right? He does have a challenging relationship with her.
Was it explained yet? What's going on?
It's not. It hasn't been yet. So that's why I'm purposely being oblique about what the situation is. But the question that I think we've all already asked at this point, he's going to see this other woman who he clearly, cares a great deal about, and they're seeing each other on the side. And why doesn't he just leave her, right? Well, actually, I think we probably have enough clues to know why.
It's complicated.
It is complicated, but I think at least initially, you probably see some of the reason why he's staying with Nadine. And I think it falls under he's not a bad guy, right? The more you see of Big Ed, the more you kind of like him, and you're kind of bothered by the fact that he's cheating on his wife, but then you end up sympathizing with him and really everyone involved in that situation.
What's kind of interesting is this directly parallels my ex-husband's dad and his marriage.
Okay, I guess you're going to have to explain that because I'm not even sure I know all the details.
I can't explain it on air because it'll give away Big Ed's.
Good point. Yes.
But I can tell you later, and then you'll know what I'm talking about.
So we'll revisit that later when we learn more about Big Ed and Nadine and all that. Yeah. So there we go. See, you got me off on a rabbit hole. So we liking it so far?
I like it. I like.
I know, Boomer. I know you've seen at least this much of it before.
Yes.
Are you feeling though that you're getting a little bit more than you did before? You think the insights are helping you a bit?
Yes. I like the rock game he was playing to find the.
Does it make any more sense to you now that you're revisiting that element?
Maybe a little bit.
Yeah,
it's tricky stuff. Let's be honest here.
That's fair, and there is more I can say later.
But you're here for the journey, not necessarily to understand everything that's going on. I'll say this: it feels like in here there was a master plan, unlike other shows that have mysteries and maybe they didn't necessarily know where they were going. But
and this, it's funny you say it. I hadn't thought about this before, but I'm sure this directly flavors what I often say about things like Marvel and Star Wars and all these other things where I say if you don't have a showrunner who has a good vision of where things are going, it's going to go to crap. When you had, during the Star Trek, The Next Generation, when you had people like Okuda and Sternbach on the technical stuff, and you had Pilar and Berman and so forth, shaping the story, they knew what they were doing and where they were going with it. The best example is J. Michael Straczynski with Babylon 5.
Right.
He maintained everything. Every writer had very strict things they had to stay within. And at least for the first season, David and Mark did that with Twin Peaks. So far, but I've seen this show years ago when I was in the realm of humans. Yeah, and that's why, even if you've seen Twin Peaks all the way through, like Boomer actually has. It's not that he's never seen it before. He just hasn't had this kind of deep dive, hard chew, bandering it about with, you know, super hard fans. He just watched it through, and it was a show he watched, and, you know, now we're revisiting it, right?
Yeah.
And
There wasn't much talk of food in this episode.
There was some, and there's more as you go.
The sandwich. My mistake. There was the sandwich. I forgot at the beginning.
Exactly. And the coffee. The coffee is ubiquitous. The coffee keeps coming back. And I can't remember if it was something
The coffee is a drug.
It is. I don't remember if it was something that I read that, you know, like some of the extraneous material, or if it was a commentary about Twin Peaks. But what is it about coffee that, you know, why does it keep coming up? Well, the simple answer is David Lynch loves coffee, right? But when you think about what coffee is, it's a drink with 0 calories, unless you add sugar and cream. If you take it black as midnight on a moonless night, it has no calories, but it gives you energy. So
it's a drug.
Whatever that means. It is a drug. That's true. But there you go. Coffee. Black as midnight on a moonless night.
I don't know why.
I'm going to stop talking.
But as soon as, what was it, Audrey said something like, he likes his black, I half expected her to follow that up with, like his women.
Like his women, yeah. Right. Or like I like my men, right? Going back to that whole airplane thing. Yeah. But Donna picked up on it, and I'm sure everyone else did. Audrey's got a thing for Agent Cooper.
Yeah. I don't know.
He's a cutie.
She's trouble. Everything about
her is
trouble.
Yep, as Travis Tritt sang, she is Trouble. No doubt about it. But
interesting that Donna was being friendly with her, though, right?
Well, she's her friend.
Well, not really. You get the impression that they kind of run in different circles at school. Even that thing about, I thought you didn't like Laura, you know. The impression, and you definitely see it in the school scene where the announcement that Laura's, you know, passed. You see Donna crying. She's got 2 or 3 girls around her. And Audrey way up in the front, and she's smirking about it, right? You know, she thinks, you know, whatever. You get the distinct impression that you got this rich, spoiled girl who's, you know, above all of this stuff. You know, you've got the working class girl who was friends with Laura, who's really upset, and, you know, her little group of friends trying to console her and whatnot. Not sure what happened. My phone was in my shirt pocket. Not intentional. Sorry. No worries.
Okay.
I mean, if you're just apologizing because you've been quiet for a while, that's fine. I don't.
That's fine.
No worries. If
Trevor's talking enough for everybody.
You could always rewind and catch up. You know, but thanks. You know. Oh, he's talking to Mr. Londell. I see.
Yeah, I
see.
So Deputy Hawk told Agent Cooper about the one-armed man. Remember?
Yeah.
And I have to give Deputy Hawk points. He seems on top of things. He said, "No, tried pursuing, didn't catch him." He says, "Okay, but make sure you, you know,
keep an eye on
the witness
Pulaski overnight."
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's probably one of the most, I don't know what you call it, vanilla, straightforward elements of the story, right? I mean, that's standard operating procedure. When you have a survivor of an attack who is a witness, you kind of got to, you know, watch out for her, because they may try to, you know, make sure she doesn't wake up so she can't identify anybody.
And as we will come to see, places that may seem safe in Twin Peaks might not be.
I'd almost argue no place is safe in Twin Peaks.
The Double R Diner. Is that the name of it? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm thinking. No, actually.
No.
When we get to season 2, it's
actually.
really not.
Yeah.
And Big Ed's Gas Farm?
Yeah.
I
amend my statement.
Yeah.
No.
Who was the mysterious character in the woods? That's what I'm wondering.
I
guess
we do find out.
We do find out. Yes.
But I don't want to give anything away. Are you just,
what?
Are you just playing along, knowing only what we know as of this episode?
It's been a while since I've seen the show. I know some of the characters. I know some of the events, but do I remember who the character in the woods was off the top of my head? No. It's probably been a good 20 years.
I don't really remember.
Stephen, we don't find out until Fire Walk with Me, though, do we?
No, it's not that far along, unless I'm totally wrong about who I'm remembering it to be.
I guess I keep, because I've now so associated the storyline of Fire Walk with Me to before the pilot, I kind of feel like we should know everything from Fire Walk with Me already. Between seasons 1 and 2, they released Laura Palmer's Secret Diary, which becomes a plot element in the second season. And I had read it before season 2 started. And it really kind of covers most of the story that we eventually get in Fire Walk with Me. So when I saw Fire Walk with Me, with just a few exceptions, I was like, yeah, I already know this story. To some degree, for a lot of people that were super fans of the original trilogy of Star Wars, going back to the 70s, reading all the Bantha tracks, hearing every interview that George Lucas ever did, when the prequels came along, you're like, yeah, I basically kind of know this whole story. Didn't quite go exactly the way I thought it would, but basically. That's kind of how I felt with Fire Walk with Me after having read Laura Palmer's diary. But we'll get to that later. I'm really going to be quiet now.
It's fine.
No, that's great. That's why
that's why
we're here.
Me being the super fan, right?
Right. You're the super fan. You've met the people involved. You've gone to these places. Really Boomer is revisiting it. I'm revisiting it. I have a very long memory of it, but I'm going into it in a way somewhat blind, because if there is no season 4, which tends to make me believe something happens in season 3 that maybe is left unresolved. And like I've said, without going too much into detail until we get there, I do have a theory about how the show will ultimately end.
Yeah.
But even that ending will not explain everything.
And I think we agreed that we want to hear your theory, but not until after season 2 and maybe just before we go into season 3. Like, before we start season 3, Stephen, what is your prediction? Kind of a thing.
Right. But yeah, I may watch the remaining episodes of season 3 and find out that, I'm totally wrong.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, for the ending to be what I think it could be, there's a lot that's going to have to happen. And I don't know if it goes there. The fact that and please stop me again if I'm wrong, that David Lynch wrote and or directed all of the season 3 episodes.
I think he did.
Gives me faith that it is going into the direction that I think it's going.
Yeah.
I also.
Oh, go ahead.
I also do know some things about season 3 that make me wonder, well, how do those events connect to everything?
Okay.
No. So I'm essentially going in with, you have all of the answers. I have 2/3 of the answers.
Maybe, yeah.
And the 1/3 that I'm missing might completely change what I think of the 2/3 that I know.
You'll throw out the first 2/3, right? I can tell you this, that I think you're right. I think David Lynch was responsible for the entire show itself. And Mark Frost did. There were 2 books that came out connected to the series. That thanks for coming in, hitting the thumbs up, man. I super appreciate it. Mark Frost wrote these 2 books that, in my mind, it does imply to me that David Lynch is the supernatural, goofy, seat of his pants type of writer, and Mark Frost is the take it all, make it make sense, give us straight narrative type.
Absolutely.
And you definitely get that from the books.
You have David Lynch, who's this very abstract, especially at that point in his career, with the exception maybe of well, I don't think Blue Velvet's very abstract. It's very much in your face. That movie's a slam dance as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
But again, he does tend to lean to the abstract.
Yeah.
Whereas you have Mark Frost, who comes from episodic television, who wrote Hill Street Blues, and worked alongside like Stephen Bochco and Stephen Cannell, and so where it has to be straightforward, it has to be episodic, but the cool thing about that is those shows that he worked on had their own mythology, and a mythology that they stuck to, because Hill Street Blues, I was a little too young for it. That was really more my dad's show, so I never really saw it, but I did see like the shows that came from it, like NYPD Blue. And the point is, they were shows that had their own mythology, and if you went away from it in any way, if you took some kind of left turn into wacky land, people would notice it. And the fans who have been paying attention for 10 years are going to call you on that. So yeah, that's, you're very much.
Which is why when they decided they wanted to do a police musical, they had to do a whole completely different series. What was it called? Cop Rock?
Cop Rock. And not a good mix for television.
I gotta be honest with you, I kind of liked it, but I knew when I saw that first episode, I'm like, this isn't gonna last.
No, and don't get me wrong, there's stuff to like about it. Yeah, I get it. That they were trying. It was almost like this, what a Broadway musical about cops would be. But maybe
but as a weekly series, that's tough.
No. And there have been shows that have tried it, and
look at all the shows that have had at least one-off episodes of it. I mean, Buffy did great, but most others, you're going, no, this is nuking the fridge.
Dual Spires.
We may have to do that after we get through this. We'll have to top this off with Dual Spires, the episode of Psych. Yeah,
maybe. I've never seen it, so
really. Oh, you'd love it.
I didn't see it. No.
It's a great little palate cleanser after you've seen the show. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
In fact, maybe we should do that one in between season 2 and season 3
because it came out before season 3 of
exactly.
Okay, yeah, we should do it then.
Okay,
yeah,
that works.
I agree.
Did they do did the Simpsons ever do a spoof on Twin Peaks?
Yes, they did. It was Who Shot Mr. Burns.
Mm-hmm.
It was a two-part. It was a 2-part episode between 2 seasons.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I saw that one.
There was a show that was around the same time called Anything But Love. I don't know if you remember this. Richard Lewis and Jamie Lee Curtis. I don't know if you remember this show. And where they worked in the newsroom. It's like a newspaper or something, newspaper office or something. And there was an episode that had a segment where they parodied Twin Peaks.
Huh.
You know, I am not, Diane, it's 9:15 and I'm not leaving the office until I find out who killed Hannah Schmenkman,
One other thing I wanted to point out, because it's a very easily overlooked thing. At one point in the episode, we see Shelley Johnson at home watching a soap opera, Invitation to Love.
Mm-hmm.
And it's somewhat comical, the little elements that you end up seeing of it. But you should pay attention to it as much as you can when those clips are shown, because they directly echo the mainline story.
They do.
And I find it rather interesting. One of the actresses in Invitation to Love, I'm pretty sure, wasn't it the girl that was in the last season of Babylon 5, Scodges? Wasn't it?
Was she? I'm trying to
Tracy
remember.
Scodges?
Might have been her.
Scodges, that's her name.
We'll get when we get to it. We'll start because for those that don't know, this Invitation to Love, it's kind of like the show within the show, and everybody in Twin Peaks is kind of obsessed with this show. Everybody watches it, and then you start to see why, because the events in this show are starting to mirror what's going on in the town.
Maybe it wasn't Tracy.
And Tracy Scoggins. Yeah. Now I'm trying to remember if she was in Crusade, which was the spinoff series. Anyway, no, we're not going to. This is not a Babylon 5 stream.
I think she guest starred in an episode, maybe, because they had to stop by the station. I could be wrong. I think that happened.
I think so.
No, because Gary Cole ran into her. Yes, she was on Crusade.
Yeah.
Yes. Gary, I remember because they had kind of a thing going.
They did.
That. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I was wrong. It was an actress by the name of Erica Anderson.
I remember Erica Anderson, yeah.
Yeah.
Did I mention Erica Anderson? Allow me to restate that. No. Very easy on the eyes. Yeah, I remember. I remember her from that show, but I know there was like her character in the show within the show had a sister, and I thought maybe Tracy Scoggins might have been the sister.
No, she played both
but I don't
roles.
Remember. Oh, she did. Okay.
Yeah. And that's the parallel to Cheryl Lee's characters. Yeah. Yeah, a little minor spoiler. Cheryl Lee's gonna come back as another character.
Yeah. Which this episode actually.
There's a couple, not only, well, they haven't gotten that far in Invitation to Love yet, but yes, there was another foreshadowing of her returning. You're absolutely right.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like Erica Anderson was in a movie with Nicolas Cage.
She was. I remember that. Zombie, which is this very, very steamy, hard-boiled Louisiana movie. Yeah, I remember that. Played on Cinemax a lot.
Oh, it's a Skinemax movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like that kind of a movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Invitation to Love. Maybe we'll do that as a since these are only 1 hour episodes, maybe after one of the episodes, when we get further into it, I'll play the entire what we actually get of Invitation to Love, the collection.
Oh, nice.
But anyway, we should wrap this up.
Yeah.
Sorry, you can always keep me going on and on and on and on. And
Okay,
on
let's
and
do
on
this
and on.
easily. Troy, shut up.
Yeah.
Until next time, I'm sure it'll
that's
be.
why he's here.
Yeah.
But we did all agree that we were going to keep these shows to a certain time limit. So and we're about there now. So let us go ahead and wrap it up. I want to thank everybody who joined us on Cosme. Anybody who is currently watching on Twitter, I'm sure there's a few of you. Thank you for being here. I want to thank everybody in the chat. We had Lady Mist, Big Al Presents, JPRPH1, Mr. Londell's Groovy Movies, the lovely Sherry, Lester's San Jose, the Skeptic Tank, and let me move up here, Pacific 414, the Basco Scenario, some guy named Deleted Scenes. He was okay.
That guy.
That
He's
guy.
in all the streams.
I know, isn't he? He's starting to annoy me that little bit. Anyway,
he's like horse droppings. You find him everywhere.
You just this guy. All right. All right. Well, folks, that was episode 2 of Twin Peaks: Zen or the Skill to Catch a Killer. The next episode is entitled Rest in Pain, and it's the events surrounding Laura's funeral and
oh yeah,
the things that kind of come from that. And all right, well, I would like to thank Netter, Troy, and Boomer for being here. If you're new to the channel, you like what you see, please subscribe. Please subscribe to everybody on the channel, and everybody in the chat who's not yet subscribed to one another. Please check and make sure that you are, because you know how YouTube is. You think you're subscribed and you're not. So make sure that you're subscribed to everyone. Hit the like, share out the screen. The scream? I almost said share out the scream. It's Halloween, folks. Share out the stream. Say hello in the comments because it helps the algorithm. And JPRPH1 says great stream tonight. Can't wait to join you all again next week. And we will be back right here every Tuesday at 8:30 for live from Sparkwood and 21. And one of these days, I am going to get the proper music downloaded because it won't let me right now. Damn you, StreamYard. And but we'll work on that. Any final words before we go, guys?
I just I want to thank everybody for coming along on this journey with us. Twin Peaks is full of secrets, and it's really scary, but it's also beautiful, and I want to show it to you.
If you like weird, you'll love this show.
Yeah, that's true.
Happy Halloween.
Yes, happy Halloween, everyone. All right. From HQ, good night. Take care. Stay strong. Stay away from men with smiling bags. You'll get that later. Because this is how we win.